All right, guys, welcome to episode 3 of Streamers in Depth. With me is the very lovely DinoxRobot. You guys have seen her from the very first podcast that we did when I interviewed her. Well, we had this whole little thing where someone wanted to know a little bit more about me, and they thought it'd be a very, very cool thing of me being the one getting interviewed on my very own podcast, and who other to do that than DinoxRobot. I think she did a very good job. I was excited to do it. I asked her about it. She was excited to do it. Are you excited to do it, Dino?
I am very excited to be here.
All right. Well, that's what I want to hear, and I hope you guys enjoy it. This is going to be where you guys get to know a little bit more about me. From my understanding of our little conversation we were having earlier, there is going to be some personal questions in there that you guys get to know more deep into my heart, into my brain. So I did ask too. We had a thing on Discord where people could ask questions, but they could not put it in chat. They had to actually DM Dino herself. Just so you guys know that I'm not pre-answering these. I don't know what the questions are going to be. It's actually going to be from my heart and from off the top of my head. So we're going to be doing this. And I actually added a nice little feature in here where I am going to be on the hot seat.
The hot seat.
The hot seat is going to happen. So yes, guys, let's jump into this. And once again, these are all usually around an hour long or so. So if you're ever traveling or something like that, feel free, give it a listen. And don't look at the screen. Don't do that. That's a little dangerous. So we'll just make sure we kind of stay away from watching the screen right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna give it off to Dino. Dino, if you want to do some kind of intro, like this is your podcast, you do what you got to do, girl.
Well, first, I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to come back and podcast. The first episode was so amazing. So thank you. And thank you for the community for also supporting me being back in the podcast as well. So first off, how does it feel to be in the hot seat, Jonny? How does it feel?
It feels kind of good. I feel like I'm pretty open anyways on my streams, so I'm not really too concerned about it. I've had people ask personal questions about me before, and there's some stories that I'm unable to tell because of the guidelines that Twitch gives us. I have to watch my mouth a little bit more. So the podcast to me is a little bit different, that's why I enjoyed that I made the podcast. So you can kind of be more yourself. You don't have to worry about those guidelines that Twitch gives you. So that's to me, I'm okay with it. I'm 100% fine. You don't see any nerves going on here. So.
Sounds good. Well, so first question I wanted to ask that I got pretty much from anybody who had something that they wanted to ask you, and I'm curious myself. What is it, Jonny, that made you want to start streaming on Twitch in the first place?
The main reason I started streaming was because I went to college over at Lake Superior College in Duluth, Minnesota, and I was actually doing the media study and production area of that school, which was doing radio and film. And I fell in love with sitting in the studio, just doing my own thing. All of the commercials that we did, the hour of radios that we had to do, all of that was me being creative the way that I love to be creative. I love to entertain. I love to tell these stories, and it's something that I actually enjoy reading. I hate reading. I'm not a big fan of it, but I enjoy reading like media news and like kind of getting my own opinion. Mm-hmm. So when I would talk in them, it wasn't only this is what the media is saying, this is what you're reading on this website. It was more about my opinion, and just sitting in front of the laptop and having that mic in front of my face, it was a comfort zone for me. So I got away from that for a while, and I started finding myself after I left college, due to a living situation and kind of some things that went on there, which I'm sure we'll get into that as well. I just found myself not enjoying life as much as I did. Mm-hmm. And I really started thinking about, hey, I love video games. I love talking to people. I love meeting new people. I want to get back into like recording and doing what I loved doing in college. Because when I was in college, that was the happiest time of my life. Like I was on top of the world. I was doing what I wanted to do. The only pressure I had on myself when I was in there was like, am I going to be good enough for somebody to hire me? Mm-hmm. So that was always on the top of my head of, am I going to be good enough for that? Where when I found out about Twitch and I started watching Twitch and, saw all these streamers, I was like, they're just being who they are. They're doing what they love. That's what I did in college, and that's where I was the most comfortable. So that kind of went from there of I want to do that and I'm going to do everything I can to do that. And I just kind of built it up. And we're coming up to the year marker. I think it was March when I started. So we're going to see where I'm at in a year. I think for what I've been doing so far, I've built up a pretty good community. I got to meet great people like you and Doodle, and also, the mods that we have, Eric and Moist and Spartan. And I got to know a lot of great people. So I think what I've want to accomplish in a year span, I like to give myself goals. And I can honestly say I think I've done what I set out to do, but there's more to come. It's not going to stop. It's just going to keep going because it's just something I love to do, and it brought that happiness back into me.
Well, that's so great to hear that you're still continuing that passion that you had in college and were able to channel it and rediscover it in like a whole new different way. So have you streamed on any other platform before? I know there's like Facebook Live, Mixer, YouTube has like a live thing now. Or has Twitch?
Twitch was my main one. It was the very first one that I saw, and the very first streamer that I enjoyed watching happened to be, Tim the Tap Man. So yes. I started looking more and more on him, and I noticed that he actually had a beginner's like video on YouTube of how to start out and how he started out. And he kind of kept my whole confidence in it of you're going to go out there, you're not going to get as many views as you think. You can't go in there with the mindset of you're going to retire off of this. You have to put in the work. You can't get frustrated. He was probably the one that, got that drive into me. And I still, to this day, I love that man. I saw he just won Male Streamer of the Year, so I was super pumped to see that he did awesome. That. Yeah, so that's awesome. He's probably the top guy that actually I saw him on Twitch, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give Twitch a try. I never really looked into Mixer or YouTube, and I know Facebook has it now, but I'm not gonna hop in any of that. I think Twitch gives me everything I need, where I can have the platform to build a community, have my emotes and stuff, get out there. So Twitch has always been the platform for me.
That's awesome. Well, it's good that you were able to find that guidance from somebody who was already streaming to kind of give you a realistic expectation. Did you go into it with any expectations, like streaming, like anything that you were expecting, like right off the bat that either did or didn't happen for you?
Honestly, I went into streaming just to see if it brought that excitement back into my life, to see if it brought that spark. And it did. It really did. I think the very first week I was, up in the clouds. I was having a good time. And I got to witness, the whole have a big spark. I think my second weekend, I had over 20 people watching me play Overwatch. Oh, yeah. And it was a lot of fun. But then I also did get to experience you have like one or two people in there. Mm-hmm. So it kind of put me through a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. But every time I felt, down on myself, I just reminded, like, why am I doing this? I'm not doing this to get to build up the big popularity. I'm not doing this to be the top streamer in the world. I'm doing this for myself, to bring that spark of happiness back into me.
Oh, I love that. So you said you've been doing this almost a year. I would say that you have a pretty solid base community. Were you expecting, or did you expect to have this sort of crew running with you only a year into streaming? Like,
I didn't expect like a crew. I always expected that I'd be a lone wolf, if that's the word I can use, lone wolf on it. It kind of went the way I thought it was going to, in the aspect of family not really understanding what I'm doing. A lot of people brushing it off and saying you're wasting your time. One thing that blew my mind though was I didn't realize I had it in me to not give a shit of them saying that. I thought that having my family not really have my back that much, I thought I would probably stop doing it eventually, but it just keeps driving me more and more. So that's one thing I didn't expect was going to happen, to have that willpower of I'm doing this every day. I don't care what anyone says. People are going to go out to the bars. They're going to do what they want to do. They want me to come out and hang out with them. I'm sorry, I have to stream. So I didn't realize I had that willpower in me. But other than that, I mean, everything's kind of gone the way, I would have hoped.
That's great. So, I mean, you stream 5 days a week, which is a lot. Do you have people in your life who like don't understand the sacrifices where you're like, no, I'm not going to hang out on Tuesday. I'm streaming. Do you have people who are supportive and understanding? Do you have people that have met some sort of resistance on that, like family or friends that don't really get it?
I have my very close friends. When I started, when I was in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, they understood it. Even if they did hit me up and say, "Hey, we'll cancel tonight and just come out," and if I just gave them a solid no, that's not happening.
Right.
They go, "No, man, I get it. Like, hit me up when you're done." And then, we'll kind of go from there. My buddy David, he was that way, where he knew it was important to me, and that to me that's my brother. He knows how important it is. But then you talk to other people out at the bar or something like that, or people that are more acquaintances. I guess I can call them friends, but they're not really close friends. They would say, "Well, dude, you're like only in front of maybe 6 or 7 people. Go to the bar and go have some fun." Like, well, that's the thing to me is I love that challenge. I love that I need to get that viewer count up. And I'm not going to do that if I go up to the bar and hang out with you idiots. So I have to stick to my guns and say, "Hey, I'm streaming." And then it got to the point where they found out my schedule and they would know and ask, "Hey, what time are you done tonight?" So you can come out and hang. So they adjusted to it. As far as family goes, my sister's starting to come around. My dad's, coming around. My mom comes around, from time to time. But they don't really ask about it. Not a whole lot. Which is okay with me. Like I said, they don't get it, but they understand that it makes me happy. So obviously your family wants you to be happy.
Yeah. I mean, and I can only speak to my experience as well as there are some friends that are super supportive. They can see, the passion. You're like, oh, I can, see how excited you get when you talk about streaming. And then there are some other people who just seem to think that it's, oh, it's like consuming your life. It's taking over. And it's like, I mean, not really. But if you're, if that's how you want to think of it, then that's fine. But yeah, I mean, I think the family, right, is like the last one to come around. Like I try to talk to my mom and she's just like, okay, like that's nice,
Well, it's not bad though to have that drive, have that passion, and I think in the long run they're gonna see that. They're gonna be like, dude, like this is something he really wants to do, and maybe they'll start asking more questions and try to get a little bit more involved. But other than that, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing to have that drive or have that passion to want to do something that you love to do. I think you should do that in everyday life. Whatever you're passionate about, I think you should go out and do it. Even if you fail, at least you have the story of saying, hey, I tried this. And then you can learn from that. I don't see failure as being a bad thing. I think failure is a learning opportunity for yourself where you can actually adjust and just get better. If you give up on it right away, it's pointless. You have to adjust, you have to get better, you have to keep going. You're not going to blow up right away. It's just not going to happen. You might get lucky, but that's a very rare, slim chance that you're going to get lucky like that. So that's one thing I've always, spread in my whole community, in my stream, is spreading the positivity, because I'm just tired of all the negative things. I think it just needs to go away. I understand that there's bad things that happen in the world. I understand there's negativity in the world, but you can't let it affect who you are as a person. You can't let it affect your character. I think if you have a true passion for something, you got to go for it. I mean, don't go for broke and just like quit your job and say, hey, yeah, I'm doing this now. It's a bad way to look at it. But if that's what it takes to, light a spark under your ass, then, by all means, go out and do it.
Jonny, that is some solid advice. That is preach. No. So speaking of advice, when you first started streaming, what would you say was the best advice that you've received about streaming? Is there anything that you heard and really utilized and stuck with and thought, this is amazing? And
I think I would have to say the best advice I ever got was, if you're going to be a streamer, you have to be willing to put in the work to support other people as well. You're not going to do it alone. You have to be you have to be able to be willing to put in those hours of, even when you're done streaming, go into someone else's stream, get them to talk. Definitely go into one that, they don't have that many viewers either. You build those relationships. I think networking yourself and building those relationships is the best thing possible. And I actually did have someone on Instagram when I started. That's kind of one thing that they told me, because they were starting out too. And, sadly enough, this person I haven't seen stream in a very long time. So I feel kind of bad that they're the ones that gave me the advice, and I'm not sure if they're following their own.
Right.
But
that's too bad.
At least it clicked with me, and I have reached out to this person and it's been like, hey man, like, I haven't seen you on for a long time. What's going on? Is everything good? And it's like, yeah, I've just been really busy in life, and I get it. Personal life gets busy. But he always seemed like someone that had that passion, had that drive, that no matter what will always make time for it. And it faded off. And, it sucks to see that when someone gives you advice on that and you follow it almost to a T the way that they were explaining it, and then they couldn't really follow it themselves. It sucks to see. And, I probably have some ambition that I want to reach out again and say, I really wish you'd get back on, because he was killing it. He was doing a good job. And then again, I don't know if he's telling me the truth or not. Is it really a personal thing, or is it he wasn't getting what he wanted out of it and he got a little greedy?
I mean, I still think that you could definitely reach out to him and say, hey, by the way, your advice has, made me a better streamer. And even just telling him that, not even saying, oh, you should get in streaming again, like that would be great. But I think sometimes people just need to hear, like, dude, thank you so much for the boost. Like, I really appreciate it. So
Right.
What is the worst advice you've ever received? Any bad advice? Because kind of to what you were saying about how important it is to network and meet other people and create those like connections and friendships. The worst advice that I ever received was stream all the time, focus on your own like thing. But then that leaves no room for, getting to know other people. Why are people going to come and support my stream if I don't return that to other people? So that was the worst advice I had ever heard. So I was curious if you'd had anything else that maybe like to that.
I don't think I ever really had any bad advice from anybody. I think I took that first one to heart and kind of ran with it, doing the networking. I've never really had any bad advice. I think everything that I've been told, I took with, thank you for saying that. Now I'm going to run with it the way I would run with it. So I don't think I really had anyone give me any bad advice. It's always been positive. The Twitch community to me has always been a great thing. You get your trolls from time to time. It is what it is, man. I mean, you're on the internet. You're putting yourself out there for people to see. So I think I have a good enough brain and a good enough heart to know if I did hear anything of like, you should do this, I'll kind of go my own way. Thank you for, saying what you would do, but I'm going to kind of do my own thing.
So I know when we were talking yesterday was such a great stream, you had an awesome raid come in. What has been your best day on Twitch? Like, is there any one particular day or moment that really made you realize like, yes, this is exactly where I need to be?
My best day that I ever had on Twitch
It
actually happened. Was it 2 weeks ago, I think? We were doing the Dead by Daylight plus Drink stream. And I was just about to get off. I guess,
I remember this.
Yeah, I guess it's my best, but it didn't happen at the best moment. Let's say that. I was a little tipsy like I normally do. I get that way on Dead by Daylight, especially when I do, pregame where that's an extra hour of slamming beer, and it was just about to shut down. And this guy came in and ended up gifting 10 subs to me. And I was already a little trash. I was just barely getting my words out. But at that point, I can't just leave. He's going to be gifting all these subs. I can't say, oh, well, thank you for the subs, bye. I can't do that. So I had to, the show goes on, It was one of those moments. And it was difficult for me to get the words out. And I was just like, God damn it, I really wanted to get off because I can barely talk. And I can tell when I get to that point where I have to go, guys. Like, I don't want to say anything stupid. I don't want to do anything stupid. I'm probably going to forget to, turn my stream off. You guys are going to see some things you don't want to see. So, I mean, that was probably my best moment, I would say, is when that guy came in. And he didn't even say anything. He didn't really say any words. It was, hey, man, like, thank you so much for the gifts. Like, where are you from? And just put LOL. And that was it. I didn't see him in chat anymore. So I think I only went on for maybe another 25 minutes or so before I was like, okay, well, this guy's not talking anyway. He just came in to gift all these subs. So I don't think he's going to be offended if I get off. He's probably not even here anymore.
Right. No, I was there for that. And that was pretty amazing to witness. You really were. You were about to up. You just lit up like a Christmas tree, and you're like, we're gonna keep on going. And it was like, get it, Jonny. It was epic. It was amazing.
I've never had that happen before, so I didn't know how to react. And it just, of course, it had to come at the time I was shutting down. I had closing time up and ready to go. Yeah. And it was just like, all right, never mind. Closing. All right, we're playing the other music that's going on. So that would probably have to be my most memorable moment on Twitch so far.
Cool. Well, I'm glad I got to be there and witness that and be a part of it. So, switching gears, we were talking earlier before we started the podcast a little bit about your thoughts and feelings on conspiracy theories and fun things like that. Something we have talked about before that you have a very interesting passion about, interest, I don't know, Scientology. I'm curious, where did this start? Like, why Scientology? What is it?
Well, first off, somebody find me a Scientologist so they can come on the podcast, and I would love to sit and have a conversation with them. Yeah. That passion came to me when I saw it all over the magazines, and Leah Remini, she was the very, I would say, most famous actress that, got out of Scientology. Mm-hmm. So I love King of Queens, and I was watching King of Queens one night, and I was just like, God damn it, like, I want to know what went on in the whole thing with Leah Remini, because I was like, do people hate her now that she left this church? So I kind of started doing my own little research on it, where the more and more I read, the more and more research I did, the more and more I was like, she was in a fucking cult. That's what that was. And then I just watched her show, and I was on Hulu. So I watched her show that she had. It was like Leah Remini speaks out against Scientology or something. And I started hearing like all of these horror stories of what was happening in that church. And it just got me more and more intrigued. And it came to the point where I watched it almost every day till about 2 a.m. of watching videos of people that, if you speak out against them and you were a member of the church or something like that, like they will come to your house and like they will hire PIs to follow you around. And I was like, there's no way a church would do that. Absolutely not. So it started making me like this little expert, because I was reading everything I could, and like everyone that like, I want to talk to everyone about Scientology, and everyone's like,
it's amazing.
Well, you sound like you like want to join this thing. Oh, I don't want to join. What I want to do is I want to get in there somehow, stay on the lowest tier possible, just to get in there and see what people are like, if they're really like that or not. Because it's always a he said, she said type story. Maybe these people are coming out because they want to be on the show. Maybe they just want to get, famous off that. I need to witness it myself before I start believing all of these stories. Granted, I'm going to say, Leah Remini seems like a very respectful and honest source. I think what she went through is probably true, but I want to be able to witness it myself. And when you took that picture of you of the Scientology building, I was like, straight up, I was like, Dino, get your ass in there. Go buy yourself some spy glasses. I don't care what you have to do. I need to see what it's like in there. Because it just something, when it piques my interest, I will just go right into it. Like, I need to know. So yes, if you guys know anyone that's in Scientology that is willing to talk to me, I'll make that thing a whole 2.5, 3 hours long podcast, because I have some questions and I need them answered, and I want them answered now.
Well, it's funny because the church is based out of pretty much the area that I'm from. So I've walked by this church so many times. It creeps me out. Sometimes there's the little guys out there passing out flyers, inviting people in, but I've never had the guts to actually go experience it. But I told you the invite is there. We're going to get you down. You, me, and Doodle are going to go and check out the church because
that's the crazy thing too. When I watch this thing, they say everyone's welcome. Everyone can come into our church. But then you go in there and you start, poking holes in their stories of like, oh, this and that. And then they want you the hell out of there. Like, no, if you're a church and you're inviting me to come in here, I am now in your bubble. Now I am going to interrogate you, make you hold on to these 2 fucking cans, and you're going to answer my questions. Like, that's one thing I want to do is I actually want to walk in there and get onto that e-meter.
Yes, and do the thing.
Yeah. I want to do it. I want them to do it to me so I can see how intense they are. And then I'm going to be like, okay, now it's your turn. And I'm going to give them the cans, and I'm going to flip the e-meter around and be like, now tell me how this bullshit works.
You're going to put them in the hot seat.
I'm going to put them in the goddamn hot seat.
That's awesome. So we were also for what I was talking about a couple weeks ago that like you said you had this story. I know the pillow behind me is what reignited it. You said you have a really good ghost / Ouija board story that I need to know about it because I'm fascinated with all of that stuff. So please tell me about your experience.
Okay. Well, once again, guys, I'll tell you too. I apologize that Dino's mic is cutting in and out a little bit. It's fine. I know what you're asking. It's all good. So yeah, I have a couple of them. There used to be a graveyard close to my hometown. It's called Canton, Wisconsin. So the moral of the story there, not moral, but the story was there was a farmer that, murdered his family and then hung himself in the barn, and they're buried in the woods, and there's a cemetery there now, and they had some cult that went there and did like rituals and stuff in this bird bath, and it's in the graveyard now. So there was this whole thing. We read all about it. So one story is that we went there, creepy as hell. Everyone loved to go there. Now they say they have cameras there because someone did I guess you can call it a prank, but they actually dug up a grave that was in the graveyard. So now they say they have cameras there, which I've never witnessed any cameras. We've been there after that whole fact. But one of the creepiest things, and this isn't the one where I personally, and people can say I'm crazy if you want, I feel like I personally got attacked by a ghost one time, and just hear me out on my story. You can call me bullshit if you want. It's fine. So one of the first things that happened was we went down there, and like I said, it's a popular area. A lot of people always want to check it out. You're not always going to be the only people there. Well, we ended up doing the Ouija board on this bird bath that apparently sacrifices and stuff happened. So it was me. I think I had my buddy Mike with me. He had his girlfriend, and there's a couple of us that went over there, and there was already people there. I'm like, God damn it, but we got out anyway because we just wanted to see what these people were about. And they said, yeah, we've always heard stories about it. We want to check it out. We said, well, we have a Ouija board that we like to do on the bird bath, and it creeps us out. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. No one exchanged any names. Nobody said, hey, I'm John. Hey, I'm Mike. No one said anything. They just said, well, can we try it? Definitely. We gave it to them. They were doing it. And as we're standing there, they were like, hey, is someone with us? And went to yes. And then all of a sudden, Mike's girlfriend turns to him and is like, I'm really cold right now. And then they said, are you standing next to anybody? And it spelt out Allie, and her name is Allie. And then she collapsed. He had to catch her.
Oh my God.
And like right there, we're just like, what the fuck? And the main thing is when you leave this graveyard, there's a gate you have to go through. If you do not close that gate or unlock it, the story is a spirit will follow you home. Well, here is where it goes into this other story. I was in high school. I think I might have been a junior or senior, and my mom is really into that kind of stuff. So we told her about this place, and she's like, I want to go, and I want to bring me there. So we brought her and her friend with us, and we did this whole Ouija board thing. And we had them do it, and, you know, they kind of got a little creeped out, and we ended up leaving. Well, as we're leaving, you have to go across this little bridge that you can maybe fit one vehicle through. So you have to cross that. And all of a sudden, the girl driving, it was my mom's friend, she stopped. And we're, what are you stopping for? She's like, get out. I'm like, what? She's like,
God.
Get out. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, someone stood next to the car. And like, I got out of the vehicle and I looked. And this is one of those things where it's like, the car was kind of dirty. It could have been anyone's hand, but there was like a handprint.
Stop
like,
it.
Right next to the window I was sitting at. And I was like, there's a handprint there. And then as we were leaving, I was like, fuck, did anyone close the gate? No one remembers if anyone closed the gate. No. So then I got home, you know, everything settled down. I was laying in bed, and I'm not shitting you. And this is a little gross for people, but I was laying in bed, and I felt this like heavy object on my chest and like holding my arms down where I could not move my arms. And I was awake, or at least it felt like I was awake. My eyes were open, and I was like, what the fuck? Well, then my nose started to bleed, and everything was running into my mouth, and I could not move my arms. I actually finally broke free, ran to the bathroom, spit out all of this blood that ran into my mouth, and I was like, I don't think we closed the fucking gate. The next day, drove there, closed the fucking gate, haven't had anything happen in that sense to me ever again.
Holy fucking shit. I am shook right now. Like, yeah. What?
Yeah. I need a cigarette now because now I'm reliving that.
I'm like shaky and sweaty, like mom spaghetti and all that. I don't know. It's that was intense. So like, first of all, Mama G sounds awesome since she's also into all of that stuff. So shout out to Mama G. I also have taken a Ouija board to a graveyard, and creepiest experience ever, because it was like we had our little flashlight or whatever, and it was pitch black all around us. You could only see like the light that our flashlight was making, and then it was just blackness, and there were like these flashing lights that I guess people put things on people's graves like that have lights or some sort of reaction like that. But I freaked out and was like, we gotta go. But yeah, your story, that's intense.
Wait,
that's super intense.
So they were just lights that they put like, on their gravestone?
So like, I don't know, like it seemed, so what it was is like, because there's all these like gravestones all around that you could kind of make the shape of, but there were like these lights that were like flashing around all these like tombstones.
So like orbs. They were like spirit orbs or whatever. I think that's what they call them.
I don't know what they were. They would just kind of like flicker in and out, and it freaked me out because we're doing the Ouija board, and not to say that anything was happening, because unfortunately the people that I was with weren't really taking it seriously. And we're kind of like joking around with it. So, but just you know, you can just get that feel, you know, that feeling where you're being watched.
Oh yeah, all the time.
I had that
Paco
feeling.
Stares at me
like,
when I sleep, and it's creepy.
Paco. No, I had that feeling where I was just being watched, but you couldn't see what else was out there, and I just was like, okay, we need to go, because this is not a good feeling that I'm getting. So yeah, that was my, and I think that's the last time I've ever used a Ouija board. After that, kind of creeped me out. So
I don't think they make them anymore. I don't think you can get them.
I actually bought mine from like Toys R Us.
No, that had to have been years ago. They don't sell that shit anymore.
Like I mean, maybe 5 years ago. Maybe it was a glow in the dark one.
Okay, but
it was either from Toys R Us or Target. It was one of those for sure.
But it wasn't like the what's the technical Ouija board, because you have to have the Ouija board that has like that symbol in the middle. Was it like, it's like Satan's symbol or something like that? Like if you don't have that symbol in the middle, it's not a correct. True. Yeah, it's not a true Ouija board. I
don't know. I still have it. I have to look at it. But
and ours that we used was, we made it. Like we made it out of like cardboard, and we put the symbol, like we looked up like what the symbol is. We drew it and everything. Like we wanted it to be as real as possible, because we thought about that too. Like, well, let's just go buy one. And we're like, well, yeah, but it's not going to work if you just go buy one because you have to have like this symbol, and they don't sell that one anymore because it's dangerous.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Right. Right. Well, I remember we called Target first and we're like, do you guys have a Ouija board? And the lady on the phone, what? Like, I don't want anything to do with any of that. Please go away.
Lady on the phone is probably like, child, don't you be messing with that kind of shit.
Don't you be summoning no demons. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, so that was...
You guys need Jesus right about now. That's what you need.
Oh, gosh, yeah, good times. So, yeah, I don't fuck with ghosts or anything anymore, but...
anyways, I had a ghost in my last apartment. Her name was Lisa. I named her.
Lisa the ghost.
I named her. Yeah.
Was she a friendly ghost? I mean,
she was friendly, but she hated females. Like, so it was my first or second weekend in my apartment. This is creepy too. I was laying there, and you know when you wake up and it's like it's quiet, but it's too quiet.
Oh, that's the worst.
So it was like that. So I kind of sat up and I looked around. I was like, God, like it's a new place. I'm a little weirded out. And I lay down, and I felt like I was laying on my side, so it kind of felt like somebody, like, I want to say snuggled on me, and then like in
spooning? You got spooned by a ghost?
Yeah, they were spooning me, and then in my ear, I heard like, "Who are you?" And it creeped me out. I jump out of bed, turn the light on, and I noticed that this was like a reoccurring thing. It was like always around the same time, and I noticed that. My closet door was always open, so I ended up shutting my closet door. Well, then nothing would happen. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe something's going on with that closet. Then I had this weird dream that it was that outer body experience dream where I was looking down at myself, and I looked at the closet. And it's weird because I don't even have this kind of door on my closet. It was like a sliding door. But there was a keyhole, and I looked through the keyhole, and there was like a girl there, and I opened it up. And I was like, hey, what's your name? And she told me something in Russian. It was like Lisa or something like that. So I'm just going to call you Lisa because I can't pronounce that shit. So, and then I was like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm protecting you from that. And then like I looked back at me laying in my bed, and it was like this black cloud over the top of me. So I was like, oh, protecting me. That's cool. But then anytime I had a female over, slamming cupboards. There was one time my wallet got thrown up against the wall, like we were getting ready to go out, and I had my wallet sitting on my couch on the arm, and then my wallet flung against the wall. And like I had an ex-girlfriend. She's like, I'm not staying over unless you close that door. So yeah, apparently she hated females.
Dude, I am like freaking out right now. That spirit that you let out of the I don't think it went away.
I'm good.
I think it's still with you. I'm fine. It's cool. Lisa's awesome. Yeah. She's cool. We're tight now.
I don't have her anymore. I don't live there anymore. But I got Paco. Paco does shit, right?
Paco the Liger will protect you always, definitely. So, wanted to talk more about your stream. So, is there an inspiration for the way that you stream? Because the way, like with what you have right now with the podcast, the way that your streams, the flow of your streams, it's kind of got like a talk show vibe, right? I don't know, Joe Rogan's experience, his podcast is kind of something that like I could see, that sort of vibe. So do you have like an inspiration for your streams, like the way you like them to go, or... My
inspiration, I say, would be because I did radio in college, and that's how I was happy. I loved doing it, so I try to run it that way. That's why I try to tell people, you're not going to see, A-list fucking gameplay here. I love gaming, but I'm not the best at it. I think I'm decent, but I'm not the best at it. So I'm more about the talking and being interactive. And I think, down the road, and I've said it before, where I love streaming. Don't get me wrong. Streaming it's amazing to me. But going more towards doing podcast, I think, is where I'm leaning towards. Just because I love the simple fact where I'm not distracted, by a game. I can actually engage with who I'm talking to. I can engage with, I can focus on the one thing. It gets a little difficult, when I have so many things going on, and I'm that type of person where I feel bad if someone follows or hosts me or something and I miss that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I feel horrible about it. And one thing about me as well, and I kind of gave people a glimpse of it on one stream, is I am my own worst enemy at times, where I feel like everything I do, everything I put out content wise needs to be gold. And if it's not gold, I put myself down for that, of like, I could have done better. I could have done this. And when I stream, I think that's when it hits me the hardest, because if I do miss something like that, I take it out on myself of like, God, I should have got that. I think I have more control when I'm doing podcast because I'm in that moment. You know, I don't have so many things going on. So I think definitely the theme that I'm going more towards is getting people to realize, hey, man, like, he is here to be with us and to put on a show, to talk to us, to interact with us, versus, you know, he's an amazing gamer. And I don't want people just staring at me playing a game and I'm not talking. I hate silence. I have to talk.
Right.
So, you know, I think that it was my inspiration, is doing the radio when I was in college, and, you know, doing the podcast. Those are my inspirations of where I want it to go. I think the streaming thing for me is just a way for me to interact with people live, since podcast is not live, it's recorded, so I don't get to interact except for the person I'm talking to. I want people to see, hey, man, this guy's a pretty good talker. Oh, he's got a podcast. I want to check that out. So the podcast and the whole radio theme for me was my inspiration.
Cool. Well, I think it's like your community and people who come to your show on the regular know to expect that, you know, they can come to your show, you're going to talk with them, have conversations, you're going to express your opinions and your beliefs and your passions. And I think that it's really important to put that out there and use your platform for those reasons. People, when you show the world, like, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, people can get behind that. They're like, hell yeah, you know, this is someone that I can support. So, you know, I know you go on your rants and it's always epic and everyone always loves like hearing what Jonny G has to say. Are there any topics that you are off limits or that you are uncomfortable talking about? Like anything that has come up during streams that you're just kind of like, ooh, let's not go there.
Politics are something that I do not allow
Triggered.
on my stream. Not because I'm afraid to voice my opinion. I can honestly say that I'm not the most knowledgeable person in politics. I don't want to make an argument that can get, you know, destroyed by a simple fact or a stat or something like that someone can pull off the internet. So I stay away from politics just because I know what I'm saying is my opinion. It's not like how it always has to be correct. We can have a good discussion about my opinion versus your opinion. That's fine with me. So politics is one thing that I stay away from. I don't want anything to do with politics. Even in real life, when people come up to me, you know, who'd you vote for? And, you know, all of that shit. They're like, what do you think about this? Like, I'm not going to discuss that with you. Not because, you know, I'm scared to tell you my opinion. Only reason I'm not going to discuss it with you is because I know that's just going to lead into an argument, and I'm not that type of person. I don't want to be in an argument with somebody I don't know. I don't care what your political beliefs are. I care about who you are, not what you think is right and wrong in politics. I want you to tell me who you are, and let's see if we can connect as human beings. And I think that's the way, you know, things should start to go. I hate how people are divided between, you know, Democratic, you're Republican, and, you know, you're liberals. Like, I just don't think we need to be divided like that. I think it's straight up, who am I as a person? Who are you as a person? Can we agree on some things, and can we disagree on some things? And if we do disagree on things, can we be friends by the end of the day?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think politics and religion are two of the most touchy because, you know, people have such strong beliefs about those two things that sometimes it can get a little messy when you've got all these different opinions and beliefs thrown into the mix. But
right, and we can go back to that whole, like, when you say religion thing, we can go back to that too, of like, when I talk about Scientology, those are my opinions, and it's one of those things where it's like, prove me wrong. That's why I want to sit down and talk to a Scientologist. I'm not going to hate them because they're a Scientologist. I want to know what their beliefs are. I want to know where they stand. I want to see if we can come to some sort of an agreement of, do you believe it's a cult? I know, you know, their entire thing is they're going to say, no, it's a religion. Okay, well, I'm going to bring this up and let's have a discussion about it. I'm not going to just sit there and say, you're wrong, like you're in a cult, you're this, you're that. I'm not going to do that. I just want to get your side of it, because I'm reading things that are, of course, going to be biased on the side that I'm on. So I'm not getting the other side of the story. I want to know the other side. That's all I want. So, you know, I don't want to like contradict myself of saying like someone pull stats and all that stuff. It's the simple fact of, I want to know who you are as a person, and I want to see if we can meet on some common ground. You know, maybe I learned something from them. Maybe they learned something from me. Can we still be friends by the end of the day? I hope so. You know, I'm not going to hate you because of what you believe.
Right. No, I totally agree 100%. I think finding that common ground, like, it's okay for us to be different. We're all different, and that's what makes it awesome to like and unique. But finding that common ground and something else that will like connect us as people. So besides like the awesome conversation that we can come to expect from Jonny G and his streams, there's a couple other things that if you come to a Jonny G stream, if you never have, this is what you can expect. Friday, Dead by Daylight plus drinks, which is epic. It's amazing. The Don't Stop Me Now dance, which bless yourself. There's probably clips. Go watch them. Paco the Liger occasionally gets to grace the stream, and he's amazing. Super cute. Paco's Tacos needs to be a thing. We can always expect a badass beard from Jonny. And but the one thing that a couple people wanted to know about, what is the origins of the 2 clap in chat? Where did that come from? It's awesome. It's iconic.
I don't know. What happened was I just started off streaming, and this is one of those things where I sat down, I was watching streamers, and, you know, it's a couple of videos of like, if you're going to be beginning, you have to come up with your own thing that makes you you. And I was thinking, like, what can I do that, you know, I stand out for and people can expect. So it was just one day I was just sitting there streaming, and, you know, someone followed or something like that, and I was thinking about it almost all day, like, what can be me? And in that moment, it just happened. I was just like, yeah, thank you so much for the follow. Let's put a little 2 clap in chat, and I was like, that's awesome. And then I clapped. As you can tell, I kind of toned it down a little bit, because I would constantly be clapping. I would constantly have to like put my remote down. Like, I did it for bits. Like, anytime someone put a bit in there, and I think I had some friends that kind of took advantage of that, where it was like, oh, he's gonna do it for every bit, and like I'm playing against him or with him. He's not gonna touch his controller if I keep doing that. So I started only, like, I'll still say it every time. I'm like, oh, you know, thank you so much for the host. Thank you so much for the bits. Put a little 2 clap in chat, but you won't see me clap.
Right.
The only way you'll get me to clap now is if you host me, you raid me, I get a big donation or something, then I'll throw it in. Or, you know, if I'm like just waiting for a game to start, you know, we're sitting there, we're bullshitting, and someone else comes in, you know, yeah, I'll give you a little 2 clap. But it was just one thing that it came to me in the whole moment, and it just stuck. And it was funny when someone told me that you did it, and I was like, you have to clip it. I have to see it. So then I watched it, and I was like, it's pretty good. But then, you know, right away, I was like, let me show her how it's really done. Then I did it.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, there's the iconic 2 clap in chat.
It is iconic.
It was weird too, because there was a guy that you know, he's from, I think he was over from Ireland or something like that, or he was in the UK somewhere. And I came into his stream, was talking to him, and I actually had people ask me if it made me upset. It didn't really make me upset, because he kind of said, oh, here he is. Here's Jonny G, the man, the legend, and I'm going to do it just because you're here. He's like, let's see a little 2 clap in chat. And I was like, I hope he's not doing that when I'm not there. You know,
so he knew who you were, and then was using your, hopefully, that was only like an homage to like, hey, you're here, this is your thing, you know.
It hasn't bothered me really, because I don't even see him stream anymore. I think he was one of the guys, like, when I first started, He came in and he gave me a host of like 54 people or something like that. It was on a Saturday, and I was like, holy shit. But, and this is where I had this discussion with Moist, I think, on the last podcast. I think he was using view bots, because I've been in his streams where he has like 80 some viewers, but like 2 people are talking. And I was looking at some of the names, and you can tell when you look at some of the names, like, that's not a person, dude, that's a bot. So I think either it wasn't going the way he thought, or maybe his bot service that he was using, just they got caught and they shut it down. I don't know. I haven't seen him stream in months, so I'm not too concerned.
That's interesting. Like, I had never heard of, I guess I knew that there were view bots. I mean, there's any sort of bots, like you can buy likes, you can buy followers, but I didn't actually, until that conversation that you had with Moise about the view bots, and went, interesting. Because I have definitely been, and not to say that these people are using bots, but I've definitely been in streams where there's like over 100 viewers and there's like no chat at all. Right. And it's a little weird. You're just kind of like, interesting. But I didn't realize that could be what it was until you guys mentioned that in the podcast. I thought, interesting.
Yeah, and I went on a whole rant about that too. I think it was in one of my streams. Yeah, I stand by it too. I think if you're using a view bot, dude, you're a piece of shit, man. You're taking viewers away from people that actually deserve it, and that's just where I stand on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cheating the system, and for what? Like, people know that you're cheating. You know what I'm saying? Like, your other numbers will show it. Right. In one way or another. Right. So
I've had so many people, like, so many things on Instagram hit me up like, hey, like, do you want to be a famous Twitch streamer? Like, buy our service and we'll get 100 views or 100 viewers in there for you for like an hour. And it's like, dude, why are you buying views? Be who you are and just like earn them. Don't earn them. Don't cheat your way in there.
Because then you're always gonna feel it here, right? Like that you cheated and it's you didn't earn it, like you said.
Right.
So something special is coming up for you. Do you got a birthday coming up?
I do. It's been a very special week for me. I'm going to work early tomorrow, to correct a mistake that I made probably over 2 years ago. It was maybe a year ago or so. So I get my Intoxilock out of my vehicle tomorrow. So that's going to be great. I got to check. Yeah. I got to check to see if, when my valid license will be, available to me again. I tried to check today, but, the office is closed and stuff. I still got the occupational and everything. So that's going on. I got Cruz, who is a mod on my channel and also a very good friend of mine that I met through gaming coming up from Utah. Met him once before. He came up to the Minnesota State Fair. We hung out with him. So we're going to celebrate my birthday this weekend. It's not my actual birthday, just because my actual birthday kind of falls on a Monday, I believe. Monday or Sunday. So yeah, I'm going to be able to go back to Eau Claire. Haven't been there for probably over a month now. And actually, no, it's been longer than that. It's probably about 2 or 3 months I haven't been there. So I'm going to see some old friends and see some old faces. And it's going to be a good time. So I'm super excited about that. I'm getting old. That's all it's telling me is I'm getting old.
Well, you're 28. That's not that old.
Going to be 28.
Going to be 28. So 28. Let's see. In 5 years, you're gonna be in your 30s.
Yep.
Where is Jonny G gonna be 5-10 years from now? Are you still streaming? Are you still in Wisconsin? What does Jonny G's future look like? We all want to know.
my
Do you think that far ahead? I mean, I don't know.
I'm one of those people. I don't really like to set up, time frames of, I want this to happen at this time. So it's hard for me to say. If I actually had to take a guess of what I want to be doing, because it's in my mind frame now, I want to still be streaming. In my mind, I want streaming to only be down to, instead of 5 days, maybe to 2 or 3, because I want to be doing podcasts as well. I want to stay busy those 5 days, but I want maybe 3 streams, 2 podcasts a week. So that's kind of where I see it. I don't know if I could say married. I don't know, say kids. I'm not thinking about that stuff right now. Where my mindset is continuing to do what I love, keeping that spark alive, keeping that happiness inside of me. And that's as far as it goes. I know I tell people all the time in my streams at the end of them that you have years of me, and that to me is honest. You have years ahead of, it's gonna happen for me for years. I'm going to continue to stream. Hopefully the podcast picks up, so I can actually focus a lot on that too, because like I said, Twitch to me, I love streaming and all, but the radio side of it, like we discussed earlier, is more where I want it to go. So I guess, Twitch can be a nice little, brick walkway to me to get into the podcast and keep doing that. So entertaining for 5 years. That's pretty much the answer, is entertaining still.
No, that's a good enough answer. And I think we're all relieved to hear that there's to come. So let's reverse it though. Let's take it back 10 years.
All right.
Baby Johnny G, it's just a baby. Who were you in high school? Like, tell us, because some people think you were a bro. I don't really see bro, but I don't know. You tell me, like, who were you in high school? And did you see yourself being kind of doing what you're doing right now?
Well, my earlier stage of high school, I was more along the lines of I wouldn't say jock, because I wasn't like a meathead or anything like that, but I was very into sports. I loved sports. That's all I wanted to do. Wrestled almost my entire life, except for after my freshman year. And sports was just where it was at for me. I loved it all the way through middle school, elementary school. Just did it all. That's all. I always wanted to be in a sport. It kept me out of trouble. In high school, I was known as the party guy, I guess I would say. And a lot of people would say as well. I always knew where the party was. I always knew where I could get you some alcohol if you need some alcohol, as long as I get to drink that alcohol with you. So that kind of took more of my time versus sports, which I do kick myself for sometimes, of like, I should have stayed in them. I think the only thing I ended up playing through my entire high school career was baseball. Other than that, I played football, wrestling. Me and the head coach kind of had a little rough patch where we got into an argument, and I was just like, straight up, I'm done. I'm not going to wrestle for you anymore. And it sucked because, I loved wrestling. Wrestling to me it gave me discipline. I grew up, without my dad really being around. It was just me, my sister, and my mom. And, we were trailer park kids. So I always felt like I had to defend myself. So I learned how to wrestle, just in case, if anyone tried to pick on me, I knew how to defend myself. And I just kind of ran with it. And it got to the point where, I was kicking ass at tournaments. I was getting first place, like left and right. Like, it was something that's
awesome.
To me, it was discipline, where I could discipline myself to, be what I wanted to be. And I loved wrestling because it was me. It wasn't me and some teammates. It was me. I was the only one out there. I have to figure out my own way. How can I beat this guy? What can I do? And it was weird because I think it was, I went like undefeated my whole middle school career. Went into high school. I think when I lost it wasn't my very first match, but it was at a tournament, and I lost. I didn't know how to take it because I haven't lost for so many years.
Right.
And all I thought the entire rest of the week, I was like, what could I have done? What can I do to get better? And I think I just kind of overdid myself, and I ended up getting some cracked ribs. And then that's when, me and my high school teacher kind of had, or not teacher, but coach, we had a falling out. And I just ended up, I think I just got so discouraged. And it wasn't because of the one loss. I've lost before. But it's just been a while. And I don't know. And then my body just started breaking down. My knees were killing me, and I ended up not playing football anymore. Because honestly, every time I got hit, if I got hit below the waist, it just felt like I couldn't walk anymore. So baseball was kind of my thing because, I pitched, and then I also played outfield as well. I played outfield majority of varsity. When I was freshman and JV, I was always pitcher or third base. Varsity, I played more outfield. I didn't get to pitch that often. We had some amazing pitchers. And, it just happened that, they ended up getting that position more than I did, which is fine. But baseball was kind of that sport where I didn't really have to run that much. So since I just pitched, it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah, I had to run the bases eventually, but so I just kind of ended up being that party guy that everyone knew that they could call on and say, "Where's the party at?" Well, if I can't find one, I'm going to throw one. So I ended up just being the party guy. But hey, I won like best personality of the class. So
that's awesome. Good time, Jonny.
Got an award for something.
That's great. That's awesome. So most people that you find on Twitch have a screen name, have a personality name. Mm-hmm. DinoxRobot, DoodleDrifter, Moist Penguin. You're keeping it like classy with the Jonny G, just the name. It's your own personal brand. I love it. Was there any other platform in your past? I mean, Lord knows I had MySpace, Zanga, all of those things. And I had some pretty cringe screen names back in the day. Did you ever have any like screen names that you're like kind of embarrassed about that you're glad you shed that skin?
Yeah. I think it was middle school. I used to be a straight juggalo. Loved the ICP, Insane Clown Posse. I think my screen name for MSN was Psychopathic John.
Stop it.
Yeah, no. Okay. There was actually one. I think it was Psychopathic Juggalo. I think that was one of the names too.
Oh, this is so good. I love it. Yeah. That's awesome.
But after that, though, I think I had one that was called Super Weird. And I remember weird. I created it in 2001 because it was Super Weird 2001. And Psychopathic Juggalo. I had the Chad.
The Chad.
Yeah, I was a huge Tom Green fan.
Okay.
And he was in a movie. I think it was The Weddings. Was it The Wedding Singer or something? It might have. Drew Barrymore was in it.
Okay.
And she was dating this guy, and he calls himself the Chad. And I had the Chad. That was one of mine. And Freddy Got Fingered was one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
And yeah, so I was a big Tom Green fan. So yeah, I had that. And then I got away from all of that stuff. And then I also had Gonzo, which was my nickname for the longest time in middle school. Mm-hmm. And then for some weird reason came up again just a couple years ago when I was working over in Eau Claire at New Motion. Everyone called me Gonzo, and it's because, of my last name, Gonzalez. But that all started in middle school, and it was weird because after that, and I went off to college, my radio show name was Jonny G in the morning. So Jonny G just kind of it ran. And then when I got back to that work and they called me Gonzo, it was the weirdest thing in the world. I'm going back to middle school now. Like, what the fuck?
You're like, what's happening? Right. No, what was it? Psychopath Gigolo?
Psychopathic Juggalo.
Yeah, that's iconic. I think we need to make that a thing.
No, that's never gonna happen. And that was the funny thing too, is when I first started off streaming and there was these two guys that kept coming in there, and I didn't even put it together until they told me. They just recently told me like a year ago who they were, and they would always come in and request I play ICP. And I was like, dude, there was a time where I used to love them. They were referring, because they were my classmates, they were referring to the time I was a juggalo, and they wanted my inner juggalo to come out.
That is hysterical. I love that. No, that's awesome.
Funny thing was too, when I was working at a TA over in Hudson. It was like a truck stop, and Twisted, they were guys too from the Psychopathic Records. We used to get tour buses that come through all the time. I think Bret Michaels was there once. Britney Spears's van or her tour bus came through once, and then Twisted came through. I was like, oh, I recognize that name. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, they played with ICP. Well, they came in, and I could tell they were high as fuck. They were buying everything they could. One guy ran upstairs because we had a little arcade upstairs, and all of a sudden the guy came in, and I was just like looking at him. I was like, are you Jamie Madrox? Or what's his name? Jamie Madrox, I think his name was. I can't remember. But he's like, yeah. And I was like, is that Monoxide Child over there? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you know us? I was like, dude, I used to be a big fan of yours, like when I was in middle school and stuff. He's like, oh, you're not a fan now? I was like, well, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is I don't really listen to your music anymore. And I thought he was going to be super offended. maybe it was because he was high, I don't know, but he was just like, hey man, like some people get into fads and stuff. He's like, either way I'm making money. And I was like, that's a good way to think about it, dude. You're making money.
Living the dream. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's super cool. All right, well, I'm glad we got to know who Johnny G was, but just a bit of Johnny. So if you guys don't know, Johnny and I make up 2/3 of the Biscuit Bandits. The group we have called the Biscuit Bandits. The other member is DoodleDrifter. So I know my perspective on how it all came to be, but a lot of people were curious about how the Biscuit Bandits came to be. And I'm interested in your perspective on how all of that got started. So do you remember like? Okay, can I tell you, because I actually saw days ago when we were talking about, so Joel and I go way back. We were roommates for a couple years. We knew each other in middle school. So when he came back into my life saying, oh, you're streaming now, we should do this. And then he saw that you and I were, chilling in each other's stream, like, oh, this guy Johnny, he's super awesome. We need to form a group, So for me, that was so natural because I was like, I've known Doodle forever. Yeah, of course. Let's group up. Like, this is going to be great. You, on the other hand, didn't know us for what? Maybe, I think Doodle was like a week or two that he knew and then was, let's be best friends. Like, what was going through your mind when you were approached with that? Like,
I mean, I was honored. I was very honored. I think I remember you guys talked about it before, and I don't think I took to it right away because you're just like, yeah, Johnny, we know you do your own thing, and it wasn't against like you guys or anything like that. It was that it was that lone wolf mentality of I felt like if I join a group, am I going to get smothered in this blanket to where now I can't pop off my personality the way I want to because I have to follow this group. And I think that kind of happened a little bit. The very first group I ever joined, and I'm not even with them anymore, and I can probably tell you that they don't even know I left. They were called Nano Gaming. And it was a thing where I was, approached on Instagram of, hey man, like I've really been liking your stuff. We should make like a gaming clan type thing. And what that was to me, I pictured in my mind what we are now. I thought, keep it small, support each other. That's what I thought it was. What it turned out being was there was like 50 people or like 70 people that are considered the nano gaming. And so right away I felt like, dude, like I can't pop off my personality. Like I don't even know any of these people. And they would do the same thing. Like, oh, we got to have these meetings. I'm like, meetings for what, dude? Like, I don't know what you want from me. So it came off as like a kind of a bad experience. I guess I would say I felt like I was lost in the shuffle. I couldn't be who I wanted to be because they had these guidelines and these rules to how they wanted people to be. And I understand that if your group is small, but how are you going to control over 50 people? It didn't make sense to me. So when you guys approached me at first about it, I was very standoffish, a little bit of like, I don't want this to be like that again. So it was hard for me. And then like the more and more, we started talking and like we were continuously, always in each other's streams, having good conversations. We're always talking back and forth. And then it was that one meeting that I was a part of. And I was just like, God, like maybe
the meeting.
Yeah, the meeting. It was the meeting. It was one of those things where like I thought for sure, I was like, okay, well, this is Dino and Doodle's thing. Because you had your own Discord and I had my own Discord. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a thing where, this is what they're about. We're here to support them. And I wanted to show my support. I was like, God damn right, I'm going to support these guys. They're awesome. I've never had a negative, interaction with them. We've always been solid with each other. And then when you guys were like, well, Johnny, like, we want you to be a part of this. And like, we didn't have our cameras on, but if we did have our cameras on, the smile that hit my face, because I knew the direction you guys were going just from sitting in on that meeting. I knew where it was going, and I knew that that is what I thought my first one was going to be like.
Right.
I need to jump on this. So then when you guys said that, like, hey, do you want to be a part of this? And I was like, yeah, like I would love to. And then I saw like my image on the Discord thing of just us three. And that right there, I guess when it goes back, what was the happiest moment of you that happened on Twitch? I think that might overcome getting the subs. And Dino's going to cry now.
I'm gonna cry. No, honestly, it's been so awesome. All that. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Now I can.
Okay, sorry. So I was telling Doodle this when we were having the conversation the other day that, it's really hard when you're an adult to like meet genuine, authentic people that you just connect with like right away. And it's so weird, but that's truly how Doodle and I feel about you. I hope you feel the same, where it just, I don't know. We each bring something different to the table, but it all works. I love that our communities have become, very like there's a lot of people that can enjoy each of our shows for different reasons, and just being able to be part of this with you and I don't know, it's just been awesome. So I'm glad that you weren't totally creeped out by us inviting you to be a part. But I think it's been awesome, so I hope that you've loved it.
Yeah, I was a little thrown off when I got asked, but it was one of those moments, when you have a moment in your life where something is offered to you, and you really like in your heart, I guess you can say, where it's just like that is a good idea, because I felt like we were on the same wave of like where we want to steer the ship. Where do we want this to go? And we've done that. And and to me, it's the best decision I ever made. I still feel like, like you said, we all bring something to the table. We have something for everybody. Doodle has his amazing artwork. His creative mind is amazing.
Yeah.
And then we have you as well. You bring this personality, this bubbly, happiness that people just love to be a part of it. And then you have me, who just goes off the rails sometimes and brings that entertainment of like, did he really just fucking say that? We have everything for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
So I think, to me, it was the best decision I made. I'm super happy that you guys asked me. Like I said, if my camera was on, you would have saw the smile. I may have celebrated that night a little bit, and it was the right thing to do. And when you hit that moment of, did I make the right decision? Every time I rethink about the moment, I know in my heart I made the right decision.
Oh, well, I'm so happy to hear that. Truly, that makes me feel really good. And I have to say, I feel the exact same way. So I have a question for myself. Personal question. Why do you hate Baby Shark so much? What's so ironic about it is you're the one that told me about that. And you're like, I have a song for you. Dino Shark or Baby Dino do. And I was just like, what is this guy talking about? Insane.
Okay.
But then you flipped it.
Yeah, the hatred for Baby Shark. Now, it was funny at first because I was scrolling through at work one time and I saw this video of like, it was one of those things where they get you in there right away of like, what the fuck did I just watch? So I clicked on it and I was like, what the hell is this? And I was watching it and I was like, it's kind of funny and weird at the same time. And I was like, it's my, I guess I can't say it's my humor because it's an actual like little kid song, but I ended up showing it to a couple of my friends and I was just like, dude, I'm going to play this song just because everyone's playing this rap music and rock music. And I was like, I'm just going to throw this in there and see what the fuck. And people are going to be like, who the hell played this? And I was like, it was me, as a joke.
I did.
And it got to the point, it's banned on my stream right now. Like,
it is.
I will not allow, and people have tried many different ways, different languages, but it's something where that music, you just know what it is. It got overplayed to the point where it just got more annoying than it did anything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my hatred comes from. And I hate myself that I even showed my friends. I should have kept it to myself and just kept it as an inner joke for myself. But it got to that point where it was overdone. and I might bring it back where, you can play it once a week or something, but as of right now, no,
Yeah.
it's not happening, because it would come up every stream. It would come up in every different language you can think of, every different version you can think of. And it got to that point where I'm literally, I want to go, whoever wrote that song, I want to slap him in the face and say, you destroyed my life, dude. I no longer want to ever hear your music ever again.
Yeah, done. No, I think that's the thing. Like, out like the song or whatever that you don't like, then they troll you with it.
Right.
Lately, mine has been the Russian anthem. I don't know if they played that in yours.
No,
but
I have not been able to listen to that.
Yes. Well, so yeah, that's what's been happening in my streams, and it's just, you're like, no, we're not playing this song anymore, guys.
So that thing's probably going to get a hard hammer ban right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I do have one final question for you.
All right.
Is that cool? Yep. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in streaming or content creation? Jonny, let us spill from the heart, your passion, tell the people.
My advice to people, just starting out streaming is always, there's a lot of people out there that have gimmicks of, they're not who they truly are. And yeah, that might work for them. Like I've always talked about, the big one is Dr. Disrespect. The guy he's a great man. Underneath the mullet and the mustache and the shades, I watched a thing on him of like who he is as a real person. And it's always been my thinking of, I would much rather watch him be himself versus his gimmick. If it works for you, great. But the best thing I can say is always be yourself. Always be true and honest with your viewers. Don't try to embellish anything, because it is the internet, man. People will call you out on it, and you better have some solid facts about who you are as a person. Never watch that view count. Always try to act like, if you have 2 people in there, act like you have like 30 or 40, maybe hundreds. You need to be able to keep that viewer entertained. And we've talked about it before too. You have that 30-second window of, if someone comes in, they're going to know whether or not they want to watch you. So you got to be able to talk. If you're just sitting there, and if you put on great, gameplay, that's awesome. But not everyone is going to be there to sit and watch your gameplay. They're going to want to interact with you. They want to talk to you. They want to see, how good of a talker is he? Can I joke with him? What's his personality like? And that to me too is one of the main reasons I did start the podcast, because I've always wondered those things. When I watch someone, I want to know who they are as a person. So I truly believe if you are who you are on stream, people are going to notice that. They're going to see that this guy, he seems genuine. But then you also have the ones that are different, who they'll act like they're a genuine person, but in all reality, they're really not. And, I could be wrong on this too, but I have seen, back and forth between who Ninja really is. And, that's a big name to drop. And, if anyone who is a Ninja fan, maybe they'll fucking show him and he'll get triggered about it. But the fact of the matter is, you have, the reason I say be who you are, and if you record your streams, definitely watch them. Watch how you interact with other people. Watch how you interact with, music that's going on, with how you're playing the game. If you're going to rage the entire time and that's your thing and people think it's funny, you got to pay attention to what people are liking. But don't solely say, I'm going to change who I am as a person to do this. To me, the most thing that you could do is just be who you are. Find what makes you happy, because when people see you happy, it actually is going to, want them to be happy with you as well, and it's going to put them in a positive place. So as long as you can do that I think is where you're going to blossom, because people are going to, want to be around you. They don't want to be around someone that's going to be fake with them all the time, and they're going to know when you're being fake. So that to me is the best advice I can give, is just be who you are. Don't worry about the viewers. always just be who you want to be on stream and just don't pay attention to it. You got to show people who you are, and the right people are going to stick around. The right people are going to want to be around you, and they're going to support you because of what you're doing. That's the best advice I can give someone that's going to be starting off streaming.
Honestly, that was pure gold. I am so inspired right now. No, the part where you said that it's important to go back and watch yourself and see for yourself what your shows are like and what is it that you're doing that people are liking. I think that that's something I've actually never heard before, and that's actually a really good thing to put into practice if you're streaming or any sort of content creation. Like, take a step back. What are people saying? What are you putting out that people are enjoying? So
yeah, and that's the great thing of recording your streams, because then you can actually you can sit back and it's you on the screen, it's you talking, but you can actually sit there as a viewer and be like, am I doing something wrong? To the point where, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or I should stay away from that. You get that other look of yourself, and I think that's the best thing is recording your streams. Definitely record them and just watch them. Would you be entertained through that entire thing?
Right.
You got to learn from what you're doing, and I think if you put in the time and put in the work, not get frustrated, you're gonna find some sort of success, whether it's being a top streamer or just success in yourself of learning more about yourself. And I think it could actually spill out in your own personal life too.
For sure. I mean, I would have to say, since I've started, I've had a different outlook that, like you said, has spilled out into my real life, being more confident, just in different areas. Normally, 10 years ago in high school, I was so painfully, awkwardly shy. And now, a couple weekends we went out with some girlfriends, and they're like, I was having a conversation with somebody and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so engaging and da-da-da. And that would have never been the way someone would have described me. But it's because, with you engage with your chat and you can use those skills in real life. And I think that's super awesome.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Is it brings you out of your shell a little bit.
It does.
And I think that's very, very important. And, you get to know what it's like to have a little bit of thick skin during the entire thing of when someone looks at you and is like, what, you stream? What is that? And then you tell them and they're just like, that's stupid. Well, don't take that as a bad thing, because they don't know, man. They're not in there watching streamers. They're not into the same interest that you're into. And you just have to be able to take that as, hey, that's how you feel about it. But you know what? It's bringing me happiness. And if that person can't see that you're happy because of what you're doing, you don't need to talk to that person then. If they're going to be bitchy with you about the entire thing, you don't need to talk to them. Go talk to someone that's going to be positive. It's like, oh, that's really cool. Even though if they evade the whole thing, as long as they're positive talking to you, then you're good. You're in the clear.
Definitely. All right. Well, ladies and gents, this is the man, the legend, the best beard on Twitch, Jonny G.
Thank you, Dino. Yes. Dino, thank you so much for doing this. I know we've always had a really good back and forth, and I know people have said that of just the way we interact with each other. It is, to me, and like I said earlier too, to me it's pure gold. I can honestly say when I'm done doing a podcast with you that it did go the way I wanted it to go. And that's one of the areas, I do try to work on myself of it's okay to not to have gold every time. But I feel like every time we talk, it is pure gold. So I want to thank you, for coming in and doing this. I hope it wasn't too nerve-wracking for you or anything like that.
See, I feel like I was the one in the hot seat. This was but I hope that you guys enjoy it. I hope too. So thank you for letting me be a part of this again.
Of course. And remember, guys, this was me on my very own podcast of Streamers in Depth, where we kind of get to know, certain streamers and get to know a little bit more about them. And I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast as well. Remember, I am on Monday through Friday, usually between 6 and 9 p.m. So I do it, for 3 hours a day. And once again, the 5-year plan, hopefully I'll be doing a little bit more podcast as well. So that might dwindled down. I'm not 100% sure on that. So yes, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me, Dino. I'm sure we're probably going to sit and chill for a little bit longer as well. Thank you guys for hanging in there for the entire podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free, say something in the comments. I'd love, if there was a question here that wasn't answered and you want to know, you can definitely comment on the video. I will make sure I'll watch out for it. I will answer that question for you, or just come to a stream, twitch.tv, JonnyG1246. So thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me. And once again, thank you, Dino, and I will see you guys on the next podcast.